Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a bunch of results over the past 2 weeks. We didn't get California in time, so this is going to be a combination of BSF California as well as London, as well as an Indonesian event. I think it's one of the Road to Daivangasai events, so it's a team 3v3 event. So 3 major events over the last 2 weeks. Going to cover the results and just kind of see what we should be anticipating for the global format. If you guys need any coaching, my Metafy link is in the bottom right hand corner. Feel free to book a session and we can get started. If you guys haven't already, click that subscribe button for all notifications on this channel. So California was in the format before Shiranui and Lard and the deck set being legal, so hence why you don't see any Lard, you don't see any Shiranui in the infographic. So big shout out to Fuzzy again, his hard work and obviously the hard work of everyone else feeding him information. Make sure if you guys are at Busho Springfest and you guys know the results, tag him on Twitter, send him, slide into his DMs, give him this stuff, and then we have beautiful charts like this. Cool. So if you guys don't know Fuzzy, I'll put the link in the description for his Twitter, and obviously VG Paradox, probably the best site database place to look at lists. I look at lists there all the time. All right, so Springfest California. So the first event that they had is the standard event. The second event is obviously tri-regulation. That is 1 standard, 1 V premium, 1 premium player per team. But this is just flat out standard. So the first place, GB4, taking it first place with Seraph Snow, Welstra, and Minerva. Second place was OTME, taking Orphis, Mask, Youthberg, and Prism. I think Prism here is a perfect pick, and I think it's probably less impactful in this particular format, and if they waited a week, Prism probably would be like a really good pick, because it's one of Shiranui's bad matchup. Well, I mean, if you hit Shiranui all day long, then barbecue chicken. All right, so third place was KCTCG, taking it third place with Jujud Ignis, Zorga Mask, and Youthberg, and then fourth was Advent Reverse, playing Leonon, Youthberg, and Shamu. I think this is first top for Shamu, if I'm not mistaken, at least in the global format anyways. Then jumping to tri-regulation. So this is actually pretty interesting. There's some pretty wild picks, I gotta say, in some of these teams. So again, this is 1 D player, 1 V player, and 1 premium player. So the first place was Reverse Oreo, the V player taking Malkuth Melek. Then the standard player taking Mushi King, and I think this is also Mushi King's first top, if I'm not mistaken, for the global format. And then Shiranui for premium. And I think Shiranui is a pretty good pick, but obviously there are other decks, really good out there that I would probably pick before Shiranui. Second team was V. In the V slot was Gurgut. The standard slot was Magnolia Mask. So I don't know if this included the promo. I'm fairly sure it did, but the promo really helps kind of amp up the potential of Magnolia Mask. But even with set 1, I think set 1 support makes Magnolia really strong. And then the premium player was a Highlander, so pretty cool to see that. Third place was Cross Guild, taking Tharvas for V, Leonon for standard, and then Night Rose for premium. Night Rose, a very solid deck. And I think in the team setting, it's actually a pretty good pick, given that you're less likely to see your bad matchups and people are just playing whatever they like, right? And then fourth, Advent Reverse again. Did they come fourth the previous day? Man, that's so unlucky. Missing out on a medal each day, that sucks. Hey, 2 certificates, that's A-OK. So fourth place, Advent Reverse, coming with Gurgut for V, Labrador for standard, which is Prism, and then taking a Highlander for premium as well. Wouldn't like to see, Arj in that slot, and then we have all 3 mermaid decks. That'd be pretty funny. But yeah, congratulations to all the teams. Very cool to see kind of how things will evolve, the week after. So the week after we had BSF London, and as you can see, immediately you see a huge impact on the Stride deck sets, and I guess the counters for the Stride deck set. So first place was Phantom Bullet, taking it first with Labrador, Labrador, Shiranui, and Lard. I'm mind blank there for a second there. Second place was CFA players taking Greedon Mask. I think Greedon Mask is actually a pretty interesting pick for this particular format. Not a lot of decks can actually get Greedon to 7, and I think that is a pretty formidable pick for at least this team composition anyways. And then teaming up with obviously a Shiranui and a Youthberg. There was Brexit Peepo Happy bringing Prism, Lard, and Shiranui. I think this is like a very common lineup, and to be honest, I think it's probably one of the best lineups. It's really where you place the players, and how many Shiranui's the Prism hits, how many non-stride deck sets the Shiranui hits, how many mirrors you'll see in these two particular decks. So yeah, that's pretty cool to see. And then fourth was Umphy Squad taking it fourth with Bastion Accord, Shiranui, and Zorga Mask. So some pretty interesting, I guess, picks here, especially the Greedon Mask and the Bastion Accord. I think those two are actually like borderline the fourth and maybe the fifth pick that you would consider for your team. Another pick would be Shamu. I think Shamu is also pretty good. But the problem with Shamu is that if you don't get your threshold, you just feel really, really bad. And sometimes, you just can't afford to do that. You just play something super consistent and, get the job done. So yeah, that is the standard decks for London. Then the tri-regulation. So Bilbao, so I think this is Joanne and Louise team with Leo, I think. So first place taking V Night Rose. So I think this was Gumi Bars taking Night Rose. Leo on Shiranui. I think that's a very good pick for tri-regulation. And then Neo Nectar, probably one of the best deck, if not the best deck in Premium at the moment, piloted by Louis. Yeah, these guys have been on Katrina for ages, and to be honest, I'd be pretty surprised if they didn't come first, to be honest. So yeah, very, very high skill cap team. So congratulations to them. Second place was Divine Skills, taking V Gurgut, standard is Zorga Mask, and then Minerva in Premium. I think this was Mo's team, so congratulations to them. CFA players again coming in the top 3, taking Vanquisher for V, Shiranui for standard, and Chaos Breaker for Premium, and then One Direction taking Night Rose for V, Lard for standard, and Shiranui for Premium. So very diverse, very how should I say, odd picks. Well, not really odd, but I think unanticipated picks, right? So like the Vanquisher, for example, the Chaos Breaker, Minerva for Premium, but we know Mo is, like God of Genesis, really. Like the Zorga Mass as well. And like as you can see, Premium is just filled with decks that are viable, right? But yeah, it's just like, different decks everywhere. Nothing is kind of super duped other than like the double Shiranui in standard, but like everything, and maybe the double Night Rose. But other than that, like, I think, the team compositions are very, very cool to see. Now, jumping to the Japan format. So that is Divine Set 1. So this is the Road to Daivangasai in Indonesia. So this was held in Jakarta. A 3v3 team event, and yeah, a huge portion brought Shiranui and Lard, where I think it's nearly 50%, if I'm not mistaken, or 50%. So there were like 6 Shiranui. So I think there were recorded 8 teams. So 6 out of the 8 teams brought Shiranui, 6 out of the 8 teams also brought Lard, and then like a bunch of other things as well. The champion team brought Shiranui, Lard, and Welstra. Second team brought Lard, Shiranui, and Dailydolls. That's pretty ambitious, I think. Dailydolls, unless you like, autopilot that deck, I think that deck in a teams format is actually slightly detrimental just because of how much time it takes. But very, very cool to see. Dailydolls come second. Very, very big fan. Third place was Leonon, Shiranui, and Lard. And then fourth had Juju, Lard, and Shiranui, and then the rest are kind of there. So just looking at some of the decks, just kind of see how the decks have evolved. So this is the first place Shiranui list, piloted by Yulianto. I think this deck is pretty well crafted, I gotta say. So Esperadia, because, you know, a lot of decks are playing Bracing Angel Ladder now, playing the 3 copies of original Shiranui, purely because of the grade 2 game. And what I mean by that is, essentially, if you hit this off Shoujo Doji, your opponent literally can't deal with it. It's a 13k body on the board, and how are they going to get rid of it? Like, it's their 10k is going to attack into it? Nah. So unless they have a spot retire, that's the only way they get rid of that. And pretty much you put an 8k behind it, it's 21 hits over defensive triggers. Very, very strong. This deck plays 3 of the new Cycler card, but otherwise chipping and changing 3 of the Seikei, 4 Furai, 3 Izasuo. So I guess compensating 1 slot for the Cycler card, 1 of the grade 3 slot that would usually be either the Dragon or the 4th Shiranui for that, and then obviously 1 of the Oboro as well. Actually, no, Oboro you only usually run at 3, so you're probably compensating somewhere else. Or the Tenrei. So this deck obviously runs, you know, 3 1 PGs, 3 of the Strider. I think actually a lot of decks have cut this down to 2. But yeah, 3 I guess to, you know, hit it off. Shoujo Doji, or even just the deck didn't really have access to Stride Folders is always good, as well as, you know, you're running low counts of 3s, I guess. If you're, you know, finding this, you're ditching this to draw 1, you're putting Esperadias on the board, so just having more Stride Folders is always good to stride. Playing 3 Tenrei, 4 is better if you just want to see it. And then this deck also runs a Forktail instead of some of the other counterparts as well. I think the triggers are pretty much as we expect, you know, 8 crit, 3 front, 1 Dragon Empire OT, and everything else is kind of the same. So yeah, like, I think the really new introduction is the Cycler card into Shiranui. Otherwise, everything else kind of anticipated to what the global build is like. So yeah, that's that. And then Lard. So Lard is a pretty interesting one. I think in the JP format, it is probably one of the best deck, if not the best deck, purely because of access to Seango or Selgowan. So this card literally makes this deck and its grade 2 game absolutely insane. The one thing we didn't see in the Shiranui list was Shenri, and I think a lot of people have taken it out purely because your opponent just plays around it and just stops and denies Shenri, and you literally can't do anything about it. So you're better compensating that slot for something that can like deck thin, like Forktail, more 2s, more 3s, or whatever it is, and I think it's just much more value that way. But anyways, going back to the Lard list, so they play now 4 Biscotti, 1 Maple for if your opponent board wipes you, only 3 Morfessa, and really focusing on the Teyfelt. I think Teyfelt in conjunction with the Minerva Order, so I think, yeah, they play 4 Minerva Orders or Angelica Orders just to play the grade 2 game, so essentially your CB1, draw 2, call 2, and pretty much you activate Teyfelt's skill off the call from the order. So pretty, you know, innovative way to play the grade 2 game, and digging through your deck as well. If you're digging through the deck, that means that Selgowan, once it does its, you know, check top 2, bottom deck, draw 1, you're getting quicker to your stack. So that's that. Pretty much everything else is kind of the same. So you play 4 Abyssal Owl, only 2 of the on-place caller, because essentially that unit that gets called gets retired, and a 2 Luminosity Wizard, none of the Elf, the 6k grade 1 that 5th or more battle you can bind it and I guess PG, but I think reasoning for that is like you're committing a board space that isn't ritual, so it's not really good on the Drag Strider, but also it's like if your opponent dominates or gets rid of it, then it's like a PG wasted, right? Where you could have that slot for something else. So that's that. And then the heals, 4 heals, 8 crits, and then 3 draw, 1 blue OT, and then the strides are strides. So yeah, very cool list. And then going to the Welstra list, so this was piloted by Ilham, one of my good friends. Every time I go back to Indonesia, really good chats with this guy. Playing Welstra, and I think if I'm not mistaken, previous Springfest, he also played Welstra in the global format. So that was, you know, one of the decks that was like pretty eye-opening. I remember covering the global list for that one, but you know, jumping to The Divine Skill Welstra, obviously full Freya, that's, you know, staple. 4/4 of each of the counter chargers, 2 of the cat, none of the operator girl, but you're playing 3 of this. Just 15k attack is always good, and then just operating is good as well. But running this, isn't this a B hero? No, it's not a B hero, right? What does this do? Oh, it's the set order guy. So when your grade 2 or greater set order is placed in the order zone, you can subtract 1 by cost. Place this unit into soul and draw 1. Is it? Yes, something like that. Pretty interesting. Playing this grade 1, I guess, like, and it's not once per turn. Oh yeah, but I guess you trade it for 1. So I guess maybe you're like using it to dig. Pretty interesting tech, I gotta say. And then everything else is just kind of it, you know, 8 crit, 3 draw, 1 OT. Draws are pretty good to just get through your deck, find your products. 2 laser beam, 3 ironclad, 3 of the draws instead of 4. I think a lot of decks are playing 4. I guess you're, you know, getting rid of 1 slot to kind of bump up another slot elsewhere, and then 1 Engarton, which is, you know, as to be expected. And then the last deck I wanted to look at is the Dailydolls. So I think the initial me literally dumped like all the Dailydolls at 4 into the deck and just started playing it. So I want to see how different this deck is. So playing the ride line, 4 of the Chancellor Girl, she's busted. And then playing 4 of the new Cycler card, quite interesting. Having a 15k booster or attacker, and then, you know, obviously EB3 or CB1 to draw 1 on guard or on place during Persona Ride. Yeah, 4 of the multi-attacker, which makes sense. Only 2 of the ride line girl on top of the 1 in the ride line, so I guess compensating that last slot for, you know, more of the cyclers. 4 of also this other busted card. Essentially you're putting 2 Dailydolls into soul. Pretty madness. 3 of the ride line on top, 3 of the Almagesta. I think this card is really strong, just being able to essentially have guards forever. And then 2 Zargon. I don't know about Zargon. It has to hit, and I don't think my opponent will let me hit. So I'm not convinced on this card. And I mean, like, if you manage your soul correctly, then I don't actually think you need this card. But then again, you know, this player came second, probably knows more than I do. But yeah, pretty interesting. Then looking at the triggers, obviously 4 of each of the Dailydolls triggers, 3 fronts, I like that. Blue OT, I also like that. I feel that blue OT is more synergetic with this deck. The Dark States one is just okay. The other one I would probably look at is the red OT. I think the red OT is pretty cool. Playing Chalice over Bracing Angel Ladder, I agree with that as well. And also in a team setting, you can also play it like that. You're less likely to see Shiranuis in a team's format than you do in solos. So Chalice is all good, and then 3/1 PGs. So yeah, that's very cool to see Dailydolls. I will definitely use this deck and try it out. I think Dailydolls is really cool. So yeah, that is pretty much all the results that we have over the last 2 weeks. If you guys enjoyed this video, pop a like, comment down below what you guys think of all the results over the past 2 weeks. I think another BSF is coming, but I don't think it's this week. I think it's next week. So really keen to see what results come out of that one. If you guys haven't already, click that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.